Hi guys, welcome to Bookmas Day. I believe we're on 7. Yes, Bookmas Day 7. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I say that every single intro, but I just want you to like it because it's been something that I've been thinking about for a while, so I'm glad that it's going the way it's going. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. If you watched my videos before or you know anything about the way that we read books, we try to do a TBR every month, and there are just a lot of books that we either haven't put on TBRs or we didn't get to them when they were on TBRs, and so this is that compiled list of books that we are just really eager to get to. I've broken it up into 3 different sections. Now we have the first section being all of the books that we have started a series in. We want to continue that series. Now some of these books we have physically and some that we don't. We are in the middle of 30 plus series right now, and that is absolutely insane. So we're going to try to be better about that in next year. I just feel like it makes the entire experience better because, I don't know, like the details are fresher. And then the second section is books that we want to read that are from authors that we already know that we like. Oh, wait, actually there are 4 sections. The third is books that we haven't read anything by the author, and they're just books or series that have caught our eye, kind of put to the side because we didn't know if we'd like them or not. And then the last section is more authors than the books themselves, but authors that we've had our eye on, that there are multiple books or multiple series that the author has created that we've been looking at. So I just put the author overall. There are some that we don't know which ones we're going to start with yet, but we just want to get to their work at some point. Now we're going to get into the first one. First off, this is one of the series that we started the channel with. This is the Flesh and Fire / Blood and Ash series duo by Jennifer L. Armentrout. They're technically 2 series, but they're intermingled and you kind of have to read them like going back and forth. So we just kind of as like one big entity, but they are technically 2 different series. Hi guys, so this is like future me and past me. Still, I'm not quite sure how to explain it to you, but basically during this entire time that this footage was being taken, my SD card was refusing to accept the audio side of everything. I have footage without any sort of audio, so now I need to go back and explain this to you guys all over again, but it's the first time you're seeing it. So first book that we have in this category, again, this is the books that we are reading from series that we have already started. The first book that we have is A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book in the Flesh and Fire series. The reason I have it in this category is because Blood and Ash and Flesh and Fire are like an intermingled set of series that you have to read them kind of like back and forth, almost like a tandem read. So I have them like in this section. The entire series revolves around a maiden being offered to the gods. So in both series, you have a different maiden from the same world with different timelines being offered to the gods for various reasons. In this world, you have like a different twist on vampires and werewolves. Secondly, we have the Magnolia Parks universe. This is by Jessa Hastings. We are on Daisy Hates the Great Undoing, which is the 4th book in this series. This is another one where it's not necessarily 2 different series, but it's a kind of same concept where we have Magnolia side of things and the Daisy Hates side of things that are intermingled, and you're kind of on the same-ish timeline but different sides of the story. And the entire series revolves around a high-class friend group that's kind of like this found family and their friendships kind of going through various stages and their relationships. So it's a romance. Next, we have Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, and we are on book 2, which is Glass Sword. This series is set in a fantasy world where there are the Reds and there are the Silvers. The Reds are the commoners. They are the ones that are doing all the labor. They are the ones that have to kind of build up the world for the Silvers, because the Silvers are the royalty. They're the elite. They are the lords. They're the people that kind of get to make all the decisions, following Mare specifically, who is a red girl that gets swept into some silver royal drama, and they are not happy with her being placed there among them because, again, they do not like the Reds. Next, we have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. That's Belladonna series, which is a trilogy, but we are on the 2nd book, which is Foxglove. In this, you are following Signa, who was orphaned as a baby and has been tossed around from guardian to guardian ever since she was orphaned. Her family has a lot of money that she's supposed to come into, and so everyone's kind of just waiting for themselves to get that chance to get at that money. But something happens with her last guardian, and so she is pushed to a new one where there's a murder mystery taking place. Now, the special thing about Signa herself that makes it a fantasy series is she has a special connection with death and some powers that relate to Death's powers. So you're seeing her finding her powers, her dealing with this murder mystery and just the romantasy that gets involved. Next, we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. We are on the third book in the series, which is Finale. You are following the sisters Donatella and Scarlet in this world, and they are swept into the infamous Caraval when Donatella becomes part of the game. Magic is everywhere, and the biggest thing is that you're supposed to not lose yourself in the game because it is so crazy. There's all the illusions going on and all this stuff that makes you feel like it's real, but it's really all fake. But we're on the third book, like I said, and we're just following along with the sisters' story as they've been going through Caraval. Next, we have the Crowns of Nyaxia series. This is by Carissa Broadbent. This is Ashes and the Star-Cursed King is the book that we're on technically now, but we're supposed to read that as part of our TBR this month. So by this time, we'll be onto the third book, but we are following Oriah in this world. She is a human girl living in a kingdom full of vampires. When she was little, she was orphaned in a rebellion attack, and she was saved by the Vampire King. And in order to make her place in this realm where she isn't anywhere near as powerful as all the vampires surrounding her, she needs to win this tournament and gain a wish to try to get some powers so that she can protect herself. And it is a romantasy because she ends up kind of being in cahoots with this vampire who she shouldn't be getting into anything with, but she likes him. Next, we have Lightlark by Alex Astor. We recently read the second book in this series, so we are on to the third, which is Skyshade. In this series, you're following Isla Crown, who is the ruler of 1 out of 6 realms of Lightlark. Lightlark is an island that in the first book you're following them trying to save because Lightlark is crumbling from a curse that was put on it 500 years ago. Every 100 years there's a centennial where they're trying to, all the rulers are trying to save Lightlark, and so that's what you're seeing in the first book. And then since then we've just been trying to uncover a lot of history and dealing with a love triangle. Next, we have the Schoolomance series by Naomi Novik. We are on the second book of that series, which is The Last Graduate. In this, you're following Elle, who is one of many students at Schoolomance, and that is a boarding school meant to teach the next group of magically gifted students how to control and use their powers. There are no teachers and very limited amount of rules. They're just supposed to survive until they can graduate because they're kept in the school to try to keep them safe from the scary, bad outside world. But inside the school, there are a lot of things that could hurt them, kill them. So they're just trying to survive. And you're following Elle, who is like a dark sorceress. Next, we have the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. The book that we are on is Hexed, which is the last book in this series. So these are fractured fairy tales, and Hexed is specifically about the Little Mermaid. This is not a series that you have to read in order. They're all standalone, but they all kind of have the same like fractured fairy tale focus, so they're all part of the same series. Hexed specifically is following the Little Mermaid, and you're following actually the villains of all of these stories. So in this one, you have Vanessa, who is working for her gangster uncle, and she meets the guy of her dreams, who is actually her cousin's fiance, and of course she can't have him. All of these books are dark romance, so I would put that little warning in there that there are some darker topics, but we really liked all the books so far. Next, we have Powerless by Lauren Roberts. We are on the third technical book. There was actually a novella in there. In this world, you're following Peyton, who is an ordinary, and she is just trying to survive in a world where you die if you don't have powers. Very similar to the Red Queen aspect of like the Silver versus the Reds. You have the ordinary versus the elites. In Powerless, it's either you don't have powers or you do, and if you have powers, you get to have money and fame and success. If you don't, then you just have to struggle. Peyton is struggling, just trying to survive on the streets of Ilia when she accidentally saves an Ilian prince, and everything just kind of falls apart from there, and you're following her story and how she's trying to survive among people that don't want her. So that is it for the section in terms of stuff that we're trying to continue. I'm really hoping that these are the ones that we prioritize because again, we're in the middle of 30 plus series and I just feel like that is way too many. I just don't think that we're able to really keep up with it. Now this next section, we have 5 books by authors that we've really liked their work so far. Either we finished series or we're in the middle of them, whatever the case may be. First on this list, we have Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. She wrote the duology for The Wolf. We loved that duology. It is roughly like a Red Riding Hood type of retelling. In terms of Foxglove King, this is actually the Nightshade Crown series, and you're following Lore, who was 13 when she escaped a cult. She's discovered and taken by a group of warrior monks that are allowed to use this magic called Mortem that's only really supposed to be used by them, that Lore has actually been using. Around the kingdom, entire villages have been dying. She's expected to help the king figure out what the heck is going on. Next, we have Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. This is the same author who wrote The Serpent and the Wings of Night, which is again the series that we have on our current TBR. This is the War of Lost Hearts series. To Sana is a slave who bought her freedom and is desperate to try to save the people that she left behind. In order to try to save them, she tries to join the Order, which is the most powerful organization of magic wielders. But first, she needs to complete an apprenticeship with Max, who actually hates the Orders, and it's romantasy, and she's trying to not only save the people that she left behind, but she's dealing with her feelings for someone that she's not supposed to have feelings for. So, forbidden romance type of trope. Next we have The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is the same author who wrote One Dark Window, which is a duology that involves a magic system based around magical cards. We really like that. We read it earlier this year, and this is the Stonewater Kingdom series. But in this we have Sybil, who has spent 9 years receiving visions that predict terrible things before they happen. She is in service at a great cathedral, and she gives her visions in trade so that she can stay there and have some place to go, because the world around her is a very unsafe place. And when other people that do the same thing as she does, they're called diviners, when they start disappearing, she has to look to this mysterious knight who doesn't believe any of the visions that she has, so she has to ask him for help when he goes against everything that she does. Next we have Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is the same author as Caraval, and is actually the reason that we started reading Caraval, because it's recommended that you read the Caraval trilogy first. So we started reading that just to get to Once Upon a Broken Heart, so we really want to get to this in the next year. But this is the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and you're following Evangeline, who has recently learned that the love of her life is supposed to marry somebody else, and she does not want that to happen. So she strikes a deal with the Prince of Hearts, and in exchange, he asks that he gets 3 kisses anytime, any place, whenever he wants, and she quickly realizes that striking a deal with him was a complete mistake, and that it's going to be very different than what she originally signed up for. Lastly, for this section, we have Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, which was actually a part of our TBR for last month that we just didn't get to, and this is the same author as Ninth House, which we absolutely loved, but this is the Six of Crows series. In this, Kaz is offered a chance at a deadly heist, and he can't do it alone. He has 6 outcasts that are brought together to get the job done, and you're just trying to see if they can do it without killing each other first, because it is such a high stake situation. That concludes that section. Now we're going to move on to books that we've read nothing by these authors, that we're going to be trying everything completely new. So first we have Bloodguard by Cece Robson. This is the Old Earth series. I'm not quite sure the name, but he came to the new land and volunteered to fight in this gladiator arena to save his dying little sister with the money that he was going to win from doing these battles. But after years of fighting, he meets Maeve, who is a princess, and she offers him the chance to win Bloodguard and gain his freedom. But he has been doing this for years. He isn't quite ready to just let everything that happened to him go. Next we have Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, or Nani. This is the Prison Healer series. You're following a 17-year-old girl named Kiva, who has spent the last 10 years working as the prison healer. When the rebel queen is brought to the prison, Kiva is assigned to keep her alive long enough to partake in her trials, but the trials are going to kill her, and Kiva decides that she is going to step in and take her place and volunteer to go into these trials for her to try to save her, because the Rebel Queen's people are coming for her. But no one has ever survived these trials, so it's really just a complete gamble. Next, we have The Serpent and the Wolf by Rebecca Robinson. In this, you're following Vasa, who has the same dark magic that killed her mother. Her brother wants to eliminate her from taking his crown, so instead of killing her outright, he actually ends up sending her away and agrees to have her married to someone that he wants to invade. So in his mind, the plan is he's going to send her, she's going to die there, and he's going to use that excuse as a reason to invade this guy's land. Instead, Vasa wants to survive. She does not want to sacrifice herself for her brother, and she actually strikes up a deal with her newfound husband, who actually finds out about all of this, and they start working together. Next, we have Guild by Raven Kennedy. This is the Plated Prisoner series. In Highbell Castle, everything is made of gold, including the woman that King Midas rescued. So he rescued her, he's been keeping her safe, and to show how prestigious and loved and special she is, he made her completely gold. But now war has come, a deal has been struck, and the Golden Girl is no longer safe. Lastly, in this section, we have Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is the Fae and Alchemy series. You're following a girl who has secret powers, one day accidentally comes face to face with Death himself. She has been transported into the Fae world amidst centuries-long conflict, and mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a Fae warrior. Those are the books that we have in that category. Now the last 5, I'm just gonna say, are authors that we are really interested in. Rather than putting the individual books on the list, I've just put the authors in general because it would have exceeded or the last 5 of the 25. So first we have Sabata here, author of, I have one of the books right here, A Number in the Ashes. This author also recently put out another book, Air, I think, which is one that we've really been interested in, but this is a series of 4, I'm pretty sure, and then there's that one, a different series, I think, or a different standalone. We've been really interested in those books. They are, I think, the romantasy or fantasy genre in the YA. Next we have Frederick Bachman. Now he does just like, I think they're counted as contemporary fiction. We have a couple of his as well. We have Anxious People by him, which is actually right here. And then we also have My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. And there are multiple books. There's also Beartown, which is a series. We just heard a lot about his writing style, which we just wanted to try something new, and we never read regular fiction. We wanted to give him a try. Next, we have Emily Henry, which is one of the most popular romance book authors that like anyone has ever heard of ever. We actually have a funny story back there, and there's so many other books that she's written that we've been interested in. We just feel like someone as popular as Emily Henry, we have to at least give her a shot. Next we have Sophie Lark. Now this is the author that I've heard a lot about from specific booktubers that I watch, and she is a dark romance author. I can't think of any of the names of the books specifically, but I just have heard a lot of interesting things, and we've read dark romance from the Never After series, so we wanted to give it another shot in terms of a different author's writing. And then lastly we have Elsie Silver, who was another very popular romance author. She did the Chestnut Spring series, and there's also, I think it's like Wild Love and Wild Eyes, something like that. And again, we're just seeing her stuff everywhere, and we really want to give another popular romance author a try. So 25 books we want to read in 2025. I appreciate you so much for watching. If you have read any of these books, please let me know. Obviously don't spoil anything, but tell me if they are worth it or if I need to get swapped out somewhere on this list with something else. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you so much, and bye!